You already started a presentation of the topic innovative practices in mathematics. So Anshara already took her part, and the next is blended learning and flipped classroom. This is what I am going to take in this session. So we already studied or we already heard about blended learning before, blended learning and flipped classroom. I think you all are familiar with this both terms, blended learning and flipped classroom. So what is actually blended learning? From the name itself, we can understand what is blended learning. Blended means this mixing. Okay, now this blended means it is defined as a learning system that combines both face-to-face instruction and computer-mediated or computer-based instruction. So what is face-to-face instruction? Like whatever in traditional classroom, like the teacher will be taking classroom and in that way, that is face-to-face instruction. And computer-mediated means online classes. So this is a mixing of both face-to-face and computer-mediated instruction. And the second is blended learning can be also called as a hybrid learning technology. Hybrid learning technology, hybrid means whatever blended learning is another term of blended learning. Hybrid learning, technology mediated instruction, and web enhanced instruction, and mixed mode instruction. These are the another name of hybrid learning. So the next is in 2006, the term became more commonly with the publication of first handbook of blended learning by Combs and Graham. So what we discuss now is what is blended learning and what are the different terms or different we can call blended learning as hybrid learning, technology mediated in that way we discuss. So the next is models of blended learning. There are different models of blended learning. Almost all models are same, but there is only some differences between all these models. So the majority of blended learning models include one of the four models. That is rotation model, flux model, Anacharya model, and distribution model. These are the four basic models of blended learning. So all of you got right. What are the four basic models? So the next is rotation model includes four submodels. That's also no much difference between them. Anyway, we can discuss what are the four submodels of rotation model. So this rotation model submodels are stationary rotation, lab rotation, flipped classroom, and individual classroom. Individual rotations. So flipped classroom we will be explaining after this in detail. Rotation model in this station rotation, lab rotation, and individual rotation. Here itself I will be explaining, and flipped classroom in detail as the next part I will be saying. So next is rotation model. So what is rotation model? The students is in the classroom or between the group of classroom, they are rotating. That is known as rotating model. Rotating between the inside the classroom itself, from like a small group discussion to computer based like online classroom, from the class itself. Students are changing from small group or full class instruction, group of projects, individual tutoring from the class itself. Not only like going in the same mode like a traditional classroom, but there are some changes from one mode to another from the classroom itself. That is known as rotation model. So can anyone read what is rotation model? Yeah.
A course or subject in which students rotate on a fixed schedule or as teachers discretion between learning modalities, at least one of which is online learning. Other modalities might include activities such as small group or full class instruction, group project, individual tutoring, and pencil and paper assignments.
So I think you have got what is rotation model from this definition itself. Like from the classroom itself, there will be some shifting from small group instruction, group projects, tutoring, etc. So that is known as rotation model. So what is next? Station rotation. As I mentioned in the beginning, rotation model are classified into four. That is station rotation, lab rotation, flipped classroom, and individual rotation. In that, first is station rotation. Station rotation means a course of subject in which students experience the rotation model, which within a contained classroom or a group of classroom, the schedule. Like beyond that, there will be some rotation. Individual rotation is little bit different from station rotation. So in this, students will be rotating between different stations. As I mentioned, group project, individual learning from the classroom itself. There is no much difference between station rotation and individual. I will be telling that. And the next is lab rotation. Lab rotation means from the classroom, whatever we studied, the students will be moving into lab for practical applications of what they studied. That is lab rotation. Next is flipped classroom. Flipped classroom means we all know about flipped classroom. Like it is participating in online learning offsite. Offsite means from home we can study whatever content we want, and from classroom there will be discussion with the teachers, whatever study and quiz, etc. will be conducted from classroom itself, and no concepts are left out from the classroom. Everything will be studied from the student by the student from the home itself. That is flipped classroom. Flipping from the traditional to another form. So next is individual rotation. Individual rotation means a course or subject in which each student has an individualized playlist and does not necessarily rotate to each available species or modality. That is, individual rotation means there is no much switch from one mode to another. Like whatever the children want, individualized playlist means, however, that is based on the students, individuals. If the student like that mode or another mode, in that way they can shift. That is individual rotation. And as I mentioned at the first model, rotation model is over. The next is flux model, Alexandrian model, and enriched visual model. Visual model. So that are the other three models. So in flux model, a course or subject in which online learning is the backbone of the student learning. So before that, we can read this. They speak. They speak. Can you read that? Flux model.
A course and subject in which online learning is backbone of student learning. The teacher is on site and students are mostly on the free and water classes, except for any homework assignments. Some implementations have substantial face-to-face support, whereas others have minimal support.
Okay. And only the what you have understood from this.
It's an online learning.
The backbone of this flux model is online classroom. Okay. So for assignments, homeworks, and all, we will be depending on teachers. If there is some doubts or something, we will be taking the guidance of teachers. Otherwise, the main backbone of this is flux model, like online learning. Okay. So you have got the topic like model flux model. Okay. The next is Alcarte model. So, what do you mean by this? Can you
Course that the student takes entirely online to accompany other experience that the student is having at a big and modern school or learning center. The teacher for an a la carte course is the online teacher.
So what is brick and mortar school? Brick and mortar school is traditional classroom. That is what meant by brick and mortar. And in Alcarte model, beyond that, whatever we are studying, for example, from here we are studying physics, chemistry, etc. And if I am taking another additional course for Python or astrophysics, any some additional course through online. That is the form like Alcarte model. An additional course student is taking to accompany whatever they are studying for an additional advancement. In that way, that is known as Alcante model. Next is enriched virtual model. So, what is enriched virtual model? I think I will.
A course of subject in which students have required face-to-face learning sessions with their teacher and then are free to complete their remaining coursework remotely face-to-face teacher. Online learning is the backbone of student learning. Students are located remotely. The same person generally serves as both online and face-to-face.
So, this enriched virtual model also, there is no much difference between all these. In this also, the students have prepared face-to-face learning. Face-to-face learning is also there, along with the like blended learning. blended learning. What are the four models we studied? Main is rotation model, flex model, adaptive model, and enriched digital model. In that rotation model is again classified into four types. What are the four types? Station rotation, lab rotation, individualized rotation, and
Flipped class.
flipped classroom. In that flipped classroom, we will be discussing more after this. So I think you have got the difference between these four models and what are the classification of blended learning and what are the models. So the main characteristics of blended learning is that students have the option of the two models. Like that's all depend upon students this decision. Like if a students like to learn through mostly computer based, they can shift it to computer based. And otherwise, if a student want to go to traditional classroom and study, that way students have that option between like they can switch from one mode to another. That is the first characteristic. And the second is teachers are well versed with both the modes. So in the blended learning, teachers know both the modes, like online learning as well as traditional. If a teacher is following in traditional method only, they won't be knowing the online part. So in this model, they know both the parts. And next is students get face-to-face interaction as well they interact in virtual space. That is all the points are almost similar, but we can write the main characteristics of blended learning as these points. Students get good experience in using new technology. So with this model, students get the idea of the technology. Otherwise, they won't be getting any idea of these technologies. So the next is students get training in different life skills. So as I mentioned, to accommodate their courses, they can take whatever course they want. So that is an additional thing we can do or a plus point of this blended learning. What are the priorities of the child as in that way? If a child don't want to study any additional courses, they don't. But if a child is interested to study more courses with whatever they are studying, they can go through that. So the next is all-round development of the personality is targeted. All-round development means a student is listening in the classroom. That is one type of one type of listening to the classroom. And the next is online classroom. So the all-round development means student will have some um, uh, technology based things also other than the traditional classroom. So that makes a student a complete person. So the next is physical development is possible within the school campus. Okay. So the next is it provides multicultural and multi-dimensional approach to teaching learning process. Multicultural and multi-dimensional approach. From that we can understand, right? Multi-dimensional through different dimensions they are studying. From online itself, if we are switching into online also, there are many possibilities. Through like whatever they can study, through that they can study. So the next is makes teaching learning process child-centered. So child-centered means student can like take the decision in which way they can study. So this is actually a child-centered type of learning. And the next is direct role of teacher. As I mentioned earlier, the all points are almost similar. But as the main characteristics of blended learning, you can study all these points. So the next is prerequisites of blended learning. So there should be some prerequisites for blended learning because if a teacher don't know the technology and technology-based learning, they won't be able to teach the students. So we want the students need a well-trained teachers. Otherwise, this blended learning approach will not become popular. So the next is teachers with a scientific attitude is also needed. If a teacher is more comfortable with the teaching in traditional classroom only and the teacher don't have not the scientific attitude, then they are not able to teach in this manner. Okay. So the next is teachers with a wider outlook and positive approach towards change. So if a teacher is not ready to change from the traditional to online learning, then the blended learning will not be possible. The teacher need to change from this how they want to teach to online learning. formative evaluation and continuous internal assessment. That also should be there in every school. The prerequisites of blended learning is not only about teachers, about the school system also. There should be some formative evaluation and continuous internal assessment. So these are the prerequisites of blended learning. The next is roles and responsibilities of learner. So before when we are moving into a new type of learning, that is blended learning, there should be some roles and responsibilities for both the teacher and the learner. So first we are going to discuss the roles and responsibilities of learner. So what are the roles and responsibilities of learner? Students who are new to blended learning environments must learn to adapt to this model. So initially there will be some difficulties for one person, from one student who are learning through traditional classroom. We are switching into switching into the online classroom. Students should be able to adapt from one form to another very quickly. Then only this will be applicable. So, and this mode of delivery, which often requires more writing than face-to-face courses. And the students also must make use of good time management skills, as blended courses require them to balance both online and face-to-face interaction activities together. So, time management also, student will study if they are following this blended learning. So, they want to manage time between online learning and whatever they are studying through classroom. In that way, they will be doing about time management also. So the next is, as more content is presented online, the instructor's role will shift from being a presenter of information to facilitating of knowledge. So the student will also get an idea of how to study the concept, because every concept they are studying from as they mentioned here presented online. Online they are studying everything, and the teacher is acting like a facilitator or guide. They will be giving guidance. If at some point the student is not getting anything, teacher will be helping them. That is the thing. Next is, students must become a collaborator. We could use virtual breakout rooms or boards that can be used for collaboration opportunities. This also comes under the roles and responsibilities of learner. Okay, students must become a collaborator, and we should use virtual breakout rooms or boards that can be used for collaboration opportunities. So, in that way, if the student is learning online, there must be some collaboration opportunities also for the student. The next is other roles of the student in a blended classroom or the student becoming a communicator. We can use web-based communication with a classroom. And the next student must become a creator. Creative in the sense, if the student is making the content and studying the content from their own, they will be becoming more creativity will be increasing of that student from that basic how they are building that knowledge. In that way, they can become a creator. So the next student have the freedom to explore and create in various ways using both online and online teaching activities. So students have the freedom to explore and create in various ways. So from online classroom for one concept they will be studying something, and from traditional also they will be studying. So they can mix all the things they are studying, and they can explore whatever they are studying very well using the online platforms. Students must become a researcher. Time is allowed for research leading to more student-led learning. So in this, instead of spoon feeding, that is more mainly about student is creating everything. Student is taking the resources, searching for the resources and studying. In that way, a student-led instruction is mainly yes, student-led learning or instruction is mainly happening. So the next is roles and responsibilities of teacher. Teacher also should have some roles and responsibilities in blended learning. So the first is blended learning shifts the teacher's role from knowledge provider to coach and mentor. So before in the earlier the teacher will be providing every knowledge to students, like every concepts and everything will be So the roles and responsibilities of teacher, like the main roles are they are mainly acting as a guider, facilitator. They are providing guidance in the that is all points are like such as this only. Like they must facilitate deep learning, discussion and collaboration, and they must also coordinate cooperative grouping, and they must analyze students' data to make instruction decisions. Teachers can use programs that provide immediate feedback and scores. So in the way, as I mentioned, the main point here is role of a teacher in blended learning is they are acting as a guidance, like giving guidance or acting as a facilitator. That is the main thing you want to study roles and responsibilities of teachers. So the next is what will be the advantages and disadvantages of blended learning. So advantages mainly include blended learning is more effective means that than purely face to face, like purely like traditional classroom, face to face or purely online classes. Like blended is about mixing. So not only purely classroom like traditional methods and not only the online classes. This is a mixing of both. That is one advantage. And the second is by using blended learning, students can work on their own with the new concepts, which frees up teaching, frees up to separate and support individuals who may need individualized attention. And by reading this itself, you can understand what are the things. And the use of information and communication technologies has been found to improve student attitudes towards learning. So the traditional classroom will be more boring. This blended will be more enjoyable, joyful for the students. So the speed with which you can reach thousands of people is unmatched by traditional methods, as they can be reached simultaneously without restrictions of time and space. And not all content can be properly delivered online. So there are some limitations from in online classroom also. That limitations can be overcome by coming directly to the classroom and like coming directly to the classroom and asking doubts to teachers, whatever they didn't understand in online classroom. So it allows students to avoid the costs that are incurred in this classes, accommodations and other expenses that are time and place. In that way, they can reduce some travel expenses, etc. If the day, in between days, some classes is there. In that way, they can gain some money also. That's way we can say. The next is disadvantages. Disadvantages may include blended learning has strong dependence on the technical resources or tools with which blended learning experience is delivered. Okay? And strong dependence means like some students will not be they will be easily getting distracted from social media, etc. So providing effective feedback is more time consuming when electronic media are used in comparison to traditional paper-based assessments. And lack of access to network infrastructure. So some students may not have like the digital device, may not have the proper like network, etc. So in that case, this blended learning will be a disadvantage for that students. So before a blended learning scenario can be considered ready for the use, the lecturer has to do long, needed and extensive work. Preparation for startup is very time consuming, and there can be little contact between lecturer and student. And some students may like to interact more with the teachers and study from the teachers itself. For them, it will be little difficult this online learning. So in that way, there will be this what kind of way we want to study is more depending upon the student's interest only. So for everything, there will be some advantages and disadvantages.